It was the final practice before a pivotal back-to-back on the road in Buffalo and Columbus for the Philadelphia Flyers. And it was a relatively informative and eventful practice. We have Sean Couturier updates. We have one player who maybe lost his spot, at least on the power play, potentially in the lineup due to what happened at practice. And we had a planned meeting that John Tortorella chose not to have happen. I'm Charlie O'Connor with PHLY Sports here with your Flyers post-practice notes. So the first big bit of news today is regarding one Sean Couturier. Sean Couturier in Monday's game against the New York Islanders slammed into the boards pretty awkwardly, appeared to jam his right shoulder. He did not appear in the skills practice yesterday, but that was an optional. So unclear yesterday what his status was. Today, we started getting some news. So Couturier was not on the ice for the full practice today. Not a great sign. But before practice, Kevin Kurz of The Athletic did report that Couturier's injury is a sprained shoulder, and it's not believed to be terribly serious. I started doing some poking around after that, and from what I understand, while it is true, it's not viewed to be an incredibly serious injury, certainly not viewed as season-ending. The expectation is that Sean Couturier will not play in the games this weekend. So Flyers will be out their captain. That said, it's worth noting that Sean Couturier hasn't been playing all that well. He has 1 point in his last 15 games. Now, part of that, those 15, was the game on Monday when he only played a bit of the first period. But offensively, he hasn't been providing much. Still, obviously a quality player still, even just as a bottom six center, which is a lot of what he's used as recently. It's going to hurt not having the captain. It appears that Noah Cates is the player that they are moving over to the middle. He was centering Joel Farabee and Cam Atkinson today in practice, so expect Cates to take up the Couturier role in the middle for the Flyers on Friday. As for the player who isn't exactly showing himself well right now, that is one Egor Zamula. Now, Zamula, by the eye test and the numbers, over these past 6 games especially, he's been struggling mightily. He's a -4 in his last 2, a -8 over the last 6. And look, I'm not a big plus-minus guy. I'm really not a plus-minus guy at all. I don't think it's a very valuable stat. But if you're on the ice for that many goals, it's not the greatest thing in the world, especially if you're more or less being used as a borderline second pair or third pair guy. In addition, the advanced metrics back up the plus-minus as well. During that 6-game stretch, he's got a 43% on-ice expected goal share, so he's getting crushed in real goals and expected goals. Zamula has been struggling, but when they ran the lines today, Zamula was still seemingly in the lineup. He was still paired with Erik Johnson. You had the Sealer-Drysdale pairing and obviously the York-Sanheim pairing, which is the first pair. Those very much look like your top 3 pairs. So what happened? Well, Zamula started out the special teams portion of practice wearing the orange power play jersey with all of his teammates, all of the other members of that second power play unit. He takes a rep, it's a move up ice, passes the puck right into Rocky Thompson's skates rather than being where it was supposed to be. And let's just say he got an earful from one John Tortorella. Tortorella was yelling at him as Zamula went back to the bench. And then Zamula stayed on the bench. The Flyers then put Cam York in that spot on power play 2. Now, my understanding is that the reason why they took Cam York off the power play a few games ago had very little to do with their happiness of his play on the power play. It was more that they know they've been giving him a lot of minutes. They wanted to use the return of Drysdale as a way to get York some extra rest. Well, if Egor Zamula is not on the power play, if York is taking those minutes, if that's how frustrated, now again, this may have just been a practice thing, may have just been frustration, and Zamula will be right back in there on Friday when they play the Sabres on that second power play unit. But if York is taking Zamula's role in the power play, and Zamula at 5-on-5 hasn't been playing very well, you do start to wonder, could Zamula, with that bad repetition in practice, may he have lost his spot in the lineup? You know, Adam Jennings played pretty well. Ronnie Adams, a guy they view highly. Mark Stahl is still that crusty vet. They could go back to the Stahl-Johnson third pair that fans certainly seem to love, but the Flyers certainly respect due to the experience and veteran presence in these big games. Jordan Hall of NBC Sports Philly asked Tortorella after practice about Zamula, about the play, about whether he thought Zamula would be able to bounce back after what didn't seem to be the best practice. And John Tortorella said, yeah, I'm not sure. That was all you got. So just keep an eye out for Zamula if he ultimately is in the lineup. It appears that the plan going into practice was that he was going to play. You don't put a guy on the power play to start out special teams work if you're not expecting him to play. But he didn't finish the practice on the power play, so we shall see if the struggling Egor Zamula does indeed play, at least in the first game of this back-to-back. Finally, the practice itself. This is the Flyers' first practice, full practice. They've done some morning skates, but those are relatively breezy affairs. You're not running all the reps. You're not doing all different types of practicing. This was a full practice, and it was their first one in 17 days. The last time they had a full practice was that practice where we started to get an inkling that maybe Couturier might be scratched. That's how long it's been since this team has had a full formal practice. So this was a big one for the Flyers. John Tortorella yesterday in his eye-opening press conference spoke of just how important he felt like this practice was. He also noted yesterday, however, that he planned to have a meeting with the team before that practice. He told us today he changed his mind. He did not have that meeting. Wouldn't go into details as to why. He said that's really none of your business. But he spoke to how special the group is and how much he still trusts them. So he did not ultimately feel like he had to put his feet in that room and have a conversation with the team. He's still leaving it up to the room. As for the players themselves, looked like a productive practice, I guess maybe with the exception of Zamula. But the Flyers seemed pretty sharp. They seemed energetic. Tortorella was happy with the practice after its conclusion. At least that's what he told us. And the Flyers at the end of practice did have a fun game of two-puck, which essentially the game was set up where they were playing very close to the goalies, and the last person to score, or I guess the only person who didn't ultimately score, was the loser. Keep an eye out on the ALLPHLY.com YouTube feed, so PHLY. We just may have a fun little video talking about and showing the results of that game. But really, in the grand scheme of things, the important thing is that the Flyers appear to still be loose. They were having fun. They were joking. They were trash talking. They just seemed like a team that kind of maybe needed a 2 or 3 day break just to reset, just to get themselves back into the realm of not being so frustrated, so angry, so concerned about the stakes of the game. Today was a loose practice, and we'll see if that's exactly what they needed. But we shall see this weekend. Check out our post-game shows. I will be on both on Friday and Saturday with one Kelly Hinkle. Hopefully we're talking about Flyers wins. But in the interim, I've been Charlie O'Connor of PHLY Sports. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
We all silly like the mayor.